Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce continue to draw public attention, not because of controversy or manufactured drama, but because of how quietly strong their relationship appears amid demanding careers. While many high-profile relationships struggle under packed schedules and constant scrutiny, this pairing has become an example of balance in modern celebrity life. Fans following their story are increasingly engaged, seeing it as more than entertainment news. It reflects how two ambitious individuals navigate love without slowing each other down. Taylor Swift is currently operating at a global peak, managing an international tour that spans continents, time zones, and relentless performance expectations. At the same time, Travis Kelce remains fully committed to a professional football season that demands physical endurance, mental focus, and near-total immersion. Both careers operate on unforgiving calendars, leaving little room for spontaneity. Yet, rather than creating distance, these parallel pressures appear to have reinforced mutual respect. According to reports from those close to the situation, the foundation of their relationship is built on understanding rather than constant proximity. Neither expects the other to pause or compromise their professional momentum. Instead, they recognize that success is part of what defines them individually and what strengthens them as a couple. This shared mindset has minimized tension and eliminated the common narrative that one career must take precedence over the other. Public curiosity has often focused on how they manage time apart, especially given the tendency of media narratives to equate distance with instability. In this case, however, distance is treated as a logistical reality rather than an emotional threat. Communication remains consistent, expectations are clearly set, and personal boundaries are respected. The result is a relationship that feels structured rather than reactive. Observers have noted that their appearances together, though limited, feel intentional. Rather than frequent public displays, moments of support surface organically, whether through attendance at significant events or subtle acknowledgments that signal presence without spectacle. This measured visibility has only fueled interest, suggesting a relationship that prioritizes substance over image. As the story unfolds, one question continues to surface. How does a relationship thrive when time together is scarce? The answer seems to lie in how that time is valued. When they are together, attention is undivided. When they are apart, trust fills the gaps. Their dynamic reframes the idea that closeness must be constant to be meaningful. Midway through their public narrative, what stands out most is the absence of volatility. There are no dramatic swings, no public negotiations of private matters. Instead, their relationship appears to function as a partnership, with both parties aligned on long-term priorities. Career goals are not treated as competing interests, but as parallel paths that occasionally intersect, and when they do, the alignment feels deliberate. Industry watchers point out that this approach reflects a broader shift in how modern relationships are defined, particularly among individuals with high-demand professions. Rather than equating commitment with sacrifice, the emphasis is placed on support and adaptability. In this context, independence does not weaken intimacy. It reinforces it. The pressure of constant public attention has not disappeared, but it appears to have less impact. Speculation circulates, as it always does, yet the lack of reactive behavior suggests a confidence in their private understanding. Their calm response to external noise has become part of the story itself, signaling a level of emotional maturity that resonates with audiences. As the narrative reaches its most telling point, one defining choice becomes clear. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have positioned their relationship as a team effort, not a balancing act fueled by compromise or comparison. There is no visible struggle for dominance, no hierarchy of importance. Instead, there is alignment, two individuals moving forward at full speed, aware of each other's trajectory. In the end, their relationship offers a clear takeaway that extends beyond celebrity news. It suggests that stability does not require constant presence, and strength does not require constant validation. In an era where busyness is often blamed for emotional distance, this story presents a different conclusion. With clarity, trust, and shared perspective, even the busiest lives can move in sync. That sense of alignment has become the defining theme surrounding their relationship, especially as both continue moving deeper into pivotal phases of their careers. Insiders note that rather than reacting to external narratives, Swift and Kelce appear focused on maintaining internal clarity. This approach has allowed them to stay grounded while the public conversation around them grows louder, more speculative, and increasingly invested in every small detail. What makes this dynamic particularly compelling is how deliberately it contrasts with typical celebrity relationship cycles. There are no rushed milestones made public, no carefully staged moments designed to dominate headlines. Instead, their connection unfolds gradually, almost methodically, reinforcing the perception that longevity, not immediacy, is the priority. In an industry where visibility often equates to validation, their restraint has become its own statement. Sources familiar with their routines suggest that planning plays a critical role. Schedules are discussed well in advance, windows of time are protected, and expectations are kept realistic. This structure reduces friction and allows both individuals to remain present where they are most needed. Swift on stage commanding stadiums, Kelce on the field leading under pressure, without carrying the weight of unresolved personal tension. The relationship adapts to the calendar, not the other way around. Media analysts have pointed out that this adaptability is precisely why public interest continues to rise. Rather than burning brightly and fading quickly, the story sustains momentum through consistency. Each appearance, each acknowledgement, feels earned. This slow-burn quality has increased retention among audiences, who remain invested not because of chaos, but because of stability that feels authentic. As months pass, another layer becomes evident: mutual admiration. Those close to the situation describe a dynamic where achievements are celebrated without comparison. Wins are shared, setbacks are respected, and neither success nor pressure is minimized. This emotional symmetry creates a sense of partnership that goes beyond surface-level compatibility, reinforcing the idea that they are moving with intention rather than impulse. The balance they maintain also challenges long-held assumptions about power dynamics in high-profile relationships. Swift's global influence and Kelce's dominance in professional sports exist side by side without friction. There is no visible attempt to outshine or redefine roles. Instead, both appear comfortable occupying their own lanes while acknowledging the gravity of the other's world. This equilibrium has become one of the most discussed aspects of their connection. Public reaction reflects this shift. Online discourse has gradually moved away from skepticism toward curiosity, then toward cautious admiration. Many observers note that the absence of excess information has actually strengthened engagement. With fewer details released, each confirmed moment carries more weight, keeping attention locked without overwhelming the narrative. As the relationship continues to evolve, speculation remains inevitable. Yet what separates this story from countless others is the lack of urgency to prove anything. There is no visible race toward labels or timelines. The tone remains measured, almost strategic, suggesting that both understand the cost of moving too fast under constant observation. Toward what feels like the emotional center of this ongoing story, one realization stands out. The strength of their relationship does not stem from how often they are seen together, but from how consistently they protect what is unseen. Privacy, communication, and trust form the quiet framework holding everything in place. This invisible structure is what allows their public lives to remain intact. Industry observers increasingly cite this relationship as a case study in modern partnership. Not because it is flawless, but because it is managed. It acknowledges constraints, respects ambition, and refuses to turn busyness into a narrative of neglect. Instead, it reframes success as something that can be shared without being diluted. As attention continues to follow their paths, one thing remains clear. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are not presenting a fantasy of effortless love. They are presenting a model of intentional balance, one built on clarity, patience, and mutual direction. In a culture driven by immediacy and spectacle, that may be the most compelling story of all. And as this chapter continues to unfold, audiences remain watching not for sudden twists, but for confirmation of what already feels evident. That even at full speed, even under relentless scrutiny, two people can move forward together, steady, aligned, and unshaken. That steadiness is precisely what keeps the narrative alive as time goes on. Rather than fading once the initial excitement settles, the relationship continues to generate discussion because it resists easy conclusions. There is no dramatic arc designed for headlines, no sudden pivot meant to shock the public. Instead, the story evolves through accumulation, small confirmations that reinforce a larger picture of stability. Entertainment reporters observing the situation note that this kind of endurance is rare in celebrity culture. Relationships are often framed as either intensely visible or quietly unraveling. Swift and Kelce occupy a different space altogether, one where momentum is sustained without constant exposure. Their ability to remain relevant without oversharing has quietly reshaped how audiences engage with their story. Behind the scenes, the dynamic reportedly remains consistent. Both maintain demanding routines, yet neither treats the relationship as secondary or optional. It is integrated into their lives in a way that feels deliberate rather than reactive. Time is carved out, not improvised. Communication is ongoing, not reserved for moments of crisis. This proactive approach has minimized friction and reduced the need for public reassurance. What further fuels public interest is how their relationship mirrors broader cultural shifts. More people are navigating long-distance commitments, irregular schedules, and careers that blur traditional boundaries between work and personal life. In that sense, the Swift-Kelce relationship resonates because it reflects real-world challenges, scaled up under global visibility. Their experience becomes relatable not because of fame, but because of structure. As speculation continues, analysts point out that the absence of public conflict has become a narrative in itself. Silence, in this case, is not interpreted as distance, but as confidence. The lack of defensive statements or clarifications suggests an understanding that not every rumor requires a response. This restraint has altered the usual feedback loop between celebrity couples and media cycles. Another notable factor is how both parties appear emotionally grounded within their individual environments. Swift's performances remain expansive and focused, while Kelce's presence on the field shows no sign of distraction. Observers argue that this consistency indicates a relationship that adds stability rather than strain. Neither appears to be compensating for imbalance elsewhere. As time passes, the story increasingly centers on longevity. The question is no longer whether the relationship can survive busy seasons, but whether it can continue to adapt as circumstances change. New tours, new seasons, new obligations all introduce variables. Yet the framework they have built appears flexible enough to absorb change without collapse. This adaptability has led many commentators to describe the relationship as future-oriented. Decisions seem to be made with continuity in mind rather than short-term gratification. There is an emphasis on sustainability, emotional, professional, and personal. In an environment that often rewards immediacy, this long view stands out. Toward the latter stages of public discussion, a broader realization takes hold. The appeal of this relationship lies not in romantic spectacle, but in mutual alignment. Swift and Kelce are not selling an idealized image of perfection. They are demonstrating that clarity of expectations can neutralize chaos, even under constant observation. As the narrative continues, attention remains fixed not on what might go wrong, but on how consistently things go right without fanfare. Each passing month without disruption strengthens the underlying message. That commitment does not require constant proof. That presence can be intentional, even when physical proximity is rare. In the end, the ongoing coverage points to a simple but powerful conclusion. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have crafted a relationship that moves at the speed of their lives without being consumed by them. It is steady without being stagnant, private without being distant, and resilient without being performative. And as audiences continue to follow their story, what keeps them watching is not anticipation of collapse, but recognition of balance. In a world defined by noise, this quiet consistency has become the loudest statement of all. That quiet consistency has gradually reframed how their relationship is discussed across entertainment and sports media. What once began as a headline driven by curiosity has shifted into a longer-term conversation about sustainability. Commentators are no longer asking whether the relationship can survive distance or pressure, but how it continues to remain unaffected by forces that typically destabilize high-profile couples. One reason frequently cited is emotional autonomy. Both Swift and Kelce appear firmly rooted in their own identities, careers, and support systems. Neither relies on the relationship as a source of validation, which significantly reduces friction. This independence creates a dynamic where time apart does not generate insecurity, but reinforces trust. In an industry where attachment is often accelerated by circumstance, their pacing feels intentional. Observers close to the entertainment industry note that Swift, in particular, has shown a heightened sense of boundary setting in recent years. Her public presence is expansive, but her private life remains carefully protected. That same approach seems to extend naturally into this relationship. Kelce, accustomed to the disciplined structure of professional sports, mirrors this mindset with ease. The overlap in values, discipline, preparation, and long-term focus has become a subtle but critical connector. As the public narrative matures, another theme emerges: predictability without monotony. Their relationship does not rely on surprise gestures or dramatic declarations to stay relevant. Instead, its predictability, consistent support, aligned priorities, calm responses has become its strength. In a media ecosystem conditioned to amplify volatility, this steadiness stands out precisely because it refuses to escalate. Industry analysts also point to timing as a factor. Both individuals are at stages in their careers where self-awareness is high and external expectations are well understood. This maturity reduces impulsive decision-making and allows for clearer communication. Rather than learning boundaries through conflict, they appear to have established them early, minimizing the need for correction later. As attention continues, subtle indicators reinforce the narrative of balance. Neither career shows signs of disruption. Swift's performances remain emotionally controlled and focused, while Kelce's competitive edge remains intact. There is no visible trade-off between personal life and professional output, suggesting that the relationship functions as a stabilizing element rather than a distraction. Public engagement reflects this shift. Online conversations increasingly center on admiration rather than speculation. Many view the relationship as an example of how ambition and intimacy can coexist without collision. The discourse has moved away from predicting outcomes and toward analyzing process, how things are done, not just how they appear. Over time, this process-driven narrative has extended the lifespan of public interest. Instead of peaking and declining, the story sustains relevance through continuity. Each new phase, another tour leg, another season becomes a test not of endurance, but of adaptability. And so far, adaptability has been the defining characteristic. Toward the deeper layers of this ongoing coverage, one insight becomes unavoidable. The relationship's strength lies not in resisting change, but in absorbing it. Schedules shift, responsibilities evolve, and visibility fluctuates. Yet the core structure remains intact because it was designed to flex, not fracture. Media professionals increasingly describe the relationship as low noise, high stability. This characterization reflects a broader cultural appetite for narratives that prioritize emotional intelligence over spectacle. In that sense, the Swift-Kelce dynamic feels less like celebrity news and more like a case study in modern partnership under pressure. As the story continues to unfold without dramatic interruption, it reinforces a conclusion that grows stronger with time. That clarity of intention can outlast intensity. That shared direction can neutralize external chaos. And that in lives defined by acceleration, balance is not about slowing down, but about moving forward without losing alignment. Ultimately, the ongoing attention surrounding Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce speaks to more than curiosity about two public figures. It reflects a collective recognition of something rare, a relationship that does not need to announce its strength to prove it, one that progresses quietly, deliberately, and with a confidence that resists disruption. And as audiences continue to watch, listen, and analyze, the narrative remains compelling for one simple reason. It does not hinge on what might happen next, but on what continues to hold steady. In a world addicted to escalation, that steadiness has become the most powerful payoff of all. As that steadiness continues, it has begun to influence how media outlets frame the broader conversation around celebrity relationships. Rather than positioning Swift and Kelce as a fleeting headline, coverage increasingly treats their dynamic as an evolving narrative shaped by discipline and long-term thinking. This shift reflects a growing recognition that not all compelling stories rely on conflict. Some endure precisely because they avoid it. From a reporting standpoint, what stands out is the absence of corrective moments. There have been no rushed clarifications, no visible attempts to counter speculation with performative gestures. This lack of reaction suggests a shared confidence in their private understanding. For audiences accustomed to volatility, this calm has created a different kind of suspense, one rooted in observation rather than anticipation of collapse. Another factor sustaining attention is how both continue to operate at full capacity professionally. Swift's schedule remains relentless, with performances that demand emotional precision and physical stamina. Kelce, meanwhile, continues to function within a high-pressure competitive environment where focus is non-negotiable. The fact that neither shows signs of imbalance reinforces the perception that the relationship is additive, not draining. Analysts often note that many high-profile relationships falter when personal dynamics begin to interfere with professional rhythm. In this case, the opposite appears true. The relationship seems structured to protect performance rather than compete with it. This inversion of the usual narrative has quietly elevated public respect, transforming curiosity into sustained interest. As months turn into longer phases, the conversation has also matured. Early fascination has given way to analysis of process, values, and emotional intelligence. Commentators increasingly focus on how expectations are managed rather than how emotions are displayed. This reframing has extended the relevance of the story, allowing it to grow rather than peak prematurely. One recurring observation is the role of intentional distance. Rather than being framed as a weakness, distance is treated as a functional component of their dynamic. It creates room for autonomy, prevents overexposure, and reinforces trust. In modern relationship discourse, this approach aligns with a broader understanding that constant proximity is not a prerequisite for intimacy. Public sentiment mirrors this evolution. Discussions across social platforms have shifted from speculation to reflection, with many drawing parallels to their own experiences navigating demanding schedules and long-distance commitments. In this way, the relationship resonates not because of its celebrity scale, but because of its structural realism. As the narrative deepens, it becomes clear that predictability has not diminished engagement. Instead, it has created a sense of reliability that keeps audiences invested. Each new development, however small, is interpreted through a lens of continuity. The absence of disruption becomes confirmation that the underlying framework remains intact. Toward the latter stages of ongoing coverage, a defining insight emerges. Swift and Kelce have effectively removed urgency from their public narrative. There is no pressure to accelerate milestones or validate the relationship through visibility. This removal of urgency diffuses tension and allows the story to unfold at a pace dictated by reality rather than expectation. Industry observers argue that this approach reflects a broader cultural fatigue with overstimulation. Audiences increasingly gravitate toward narratives that feel grounded, measured, and emotionally coherent. In that context, the Swift-Kelce relationship offers a counterpoint to spectacle-driven storytelling. As attention continues to follow their paths, the lack of dramatic escalation becomes its own form of payoff. Each stable phase reinforces the same conclusion: that alignment, once established, does not require constant reinforcement. It requires maintenance, communication, and mutual respect, qualities that are less visible but more enduring. In the larger landscape of celebrity news, this story stands out for what it refuses to do. It does not collapse under scrutiny. It does not rely on shock value. It does not trade privacy for relevance. Instead, it sustains interest through consistency, a rare commodity in a cycle driven by extremes. Ultimately, the ongoing coverage of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce has evolved into something more reflective than reactive. It highlights how two individuals with extraordinary demands can move forward without sacrificing stability. It suggests that strength can exist quietly, without constant proof or performance. And as the public continues to watch, not for sudden turns, but for continued alignment, the story holds. Not because it promises surprise, but because it delivers continuity. In an environment defined by noise and acceleration, that continuity has become the most compelling narrative thread of all. As that narrative of continuity stretches further, it begins to reveal something deeper about how modern celebrity relationships are evolving under constant observation. Swift and Kelce are no longer discussed merely as individuals navigating romance, but as symbols of a shifting mindset, one that prioritizes emotional structure over public performance. This evolution has kept their story alive far beyond the initial wave of attention. Media analysts note that what sustains interest is not novelty, but coherence. Each new report aligns with what has already been established. Two people who understand their limits, respect their ambitions, and refuse to let external pressure dictate personal decisions. In an industry that thrives on contradiction, this internal consistency feels almost disruptive. There is also a growing awareness that both figures are accustomed to pressure long before their paths crossed. Swift has spent years managing global expectations, public narratives, and intense scrutiny. Kelce has built his career in an environment where performance is measured weekly and criticism is immediate. This shared familiarity with high-stakes environments appears to have created a mutual language of resilience. As a result, their relationship does not appear reactive to headlines. There is no visible adjustment based on trending opinion. Instead, actions remain steady regardless of public temperature. This detachment from external validation has become one of the most defining aspects of their dynamic, and it is repeatedly cited as a reason the relationship appears insulated from instability. Over time, reporting has shifted toward the idea of intentional design. Observers suggest that the relationship functions almost like a long-term project, planned, evaluated, and adjusted with care. This does not strip it of emotion, but rather grounds it. Emotional decisions are framed within practical realities, allowing both individuals to move forward without internal conflict. Another element frequently highlighted is mutual respect for process. Swift's creative cycles and Kelce's competitive seasons are treated as non-negotiable commitments. Rather than creating friction, these cycles provide structure. Each understands that there are periods of intense focus followed by brief windows of availability, and those windows are protected rather than taken for granted. Public fascination continues to build precisely because the relationship does not conform to expected patterns. There are no dramatic turning points to dissect, no visible crises to speculate about. Instead, audiences are left to observe stability unfolding in real time. This slow progression has proven unexpectedly engaging, keeping attention anchored without escalation. Commentators increasingly describe the relationship as low drama by design. This framing suggests that the absence of conflict is not accidental, but the result of deliberate choices made early on. Boundaries were set before pressure mounted. Expectations were clarified before misunderstandings could take root. This foresight has minimized volatility. As the story matures, it also becomes clear that privacy plays a strategic role. By limiting what is shared publicly, Swift and Kelce have reduced the surface area for speculation. Fewer details mean fewer narratives to distort. This controlled visibility has allowed them to remain present without being exposed, a balance that many high-profile couples struggle to achieve. Audience response reflects this restraint. Engagement has shifted from reactive commentary to sustained interest. Rather than waiting for controversy, followers now watch for confirmation of continuity. Each uneventful phase reinforces the same conclusion, that the relationship is functioning as intended. Toward what feels like a deeper layer of public understanding, a broader takeaway emerges. The relationship challenges the assumption that intensity equals authenticity. Instead, it suggests that calm, when maintained under pressure, may be a stronger indicator of depth. This perspective has resonated widely, particularly among audiences navigating similarly complex lives. As seasons change and professional demands continue to evolve, the framework holding this relationship together remains unchanged. Adaptation occurs without disruption. Adjustments are made quietly, There is no visible scramble to maintain balance because balance appears to be built into the structure itself. Industry voices increasingly frame the Swift-Kelce dynamic as emblematic of a more mature approach to partnership, one that values alignment over immediacy and longevity over spectacle. This framing has extended the relevance of their story beyond entertainment headlines into broader cultural discussion. In the end, what keeps this narrative compelling is not anticipation of what might happen, but recognition of what continues to endure. The relationship does not hinge on dramatic affirmation. It unfolds through consistency, clarity, and mutual direction. And as public attention persists, the story holds firm, not because it promises transformation, but because it demonstrates stability under conditions designed to erode it. In a world conditioned to expect collapse, that stability has become the most powerful and enduring headline of all.